You're not cheating on your wife if you eat my lemon square.
Your lemon squares taste like ass.
And welcome back to Horror Queers. It's another hangout, and this month we are joined by Jazz Crawley of Girl That's Scary, as well as Zero Gravity from Blurty Massacre. And since we've got two very pop culture savvy women, we thought we would talk about social media and influencer horror. So I'm curious, why do we think that we're seeing so many movies that are dealing with these types of characters right now?
Well, I read an article today. It was random. You know, they were talking about TikTok, and you know, TikTok is not US owned. But I learned that in China, the kids have a different TikTok than our kids' TikTok here. Like
Really?
they only let them on for 40 minutes. Like it's a completely different app. They only give them certain kinds of content. They learn how to do experiments, which that's my kind of time. But here it's just like whatever. It's like the Wild West, how the internet always is over here. It's the Wild West unless your parents come in and do parental controls for it. But now at this point, the culture is turning to all the kids want to go viral. Everyone wants to be a TikTok star. Everyone wants to be a YouTube star. Because at first, you know, when I was growing up, everybody wanted to play basketball. Everyone would be a rapper, or you're going to be a lawyer or a doc, something with money. Now it's like, oh, I can just go viral a few times and I can be on TV. And I've had students who were, you know, they're on TV or they have viral TikToks because that's all it takes is you to get popular one time. And they're like, yeah, I can get famous off of that, but they lack the understanding that just because you're famous don't mean you got money. But now that's an aspiration of all the young folks. Like I can just be on TikTok and they understand, even if they're not you making content, they know what it looks like, so they can align with the hey guys, like and subscribe.
That's so good. Admittedly, I know very little about TikTok, and whenever people send me videos, I'm like, no, go away, stop it. But I just saw the thing that was like, because you know they're doing like the live action Hercules movie for Disney, and the directors were like, it's going to be because TikTok has changed the way people see musicals or think about musicals, so we're going to make this movie like for TikTok people. And I was like,
all of us are just like,
what is no? I was like, what does that mean? Like, what does that mean? Like, what are you doing?
I don't know.
Yes.
I think it's just inescapable these days. And it's good real estate as far as horror is concerned. Personally, I think everyone knows of social media. You can have like really good horror stories that like float around things that, you know, somebody might not be familiar with, or, you know, something that's maybe a little niche, but like come on, everybody knows social media. Everybody does social media. Even if you got that one friend who's like, I don't do social media, they know it enough to know that they don't want to do it. So it's prime real estate, and social media still is very new, and I'm encouraging those stories because it's everywhere. So why not, you know, use that to fear monger a little bit?
That's interesting. I think that's really interesting. But I also think, though, I mean, whenever I talk to people or whenever I read comments and articles about these types of movies, people seem to like the general consensus. Like, I don't like that social media Gen Z influencer horror bullshit. It's all unlikable characters. Why do I want to watch unlikable characters for 90 minutes? Blah, blah, blah.
Are these all like 50-year-old people that you're hanging out with?
I mean, I get it to an extent, but again, for me, it's like, I don't have to like the character to like the movie. So
right. I'm finding an interesting intersection between what you just said, Trace, and Jazz, what you said, which is like this idea. Well, sorry, I'll just build on everybody's points here. So like what Zero said, I think it's just like, it's a factory. Like you can really get a lot of mileage out of these kinds of characters. But then with Jazz, what you were saying, this idea that people are content creators, that makes sense for me in like certain types of subgenres. Like we're really seeing a lot of these with regard to
found footage.
Thank you. Lost my words. And I think found footage totally makes sense because it's like, why do you keep the camera on? Why are you trying to like go for big scares, going for that viral kind of video? And there's a really good real estate intersection with horror in that, because it's like, well, I will do anything to get the hits.
Y'all remember VHS Viral?
I do.
I know we don't like
them all.
I know we don't like to talk about that one because I
don't hate it.
I don't hate it either. Honestly, I think 94 is worse than Viral, and that's probably very like contentious.
Way.
I know.
Sorry, Trace, we might be on the same team.
Oh, it's hot take central.
Here's the reason.
Sorry.
VHS viral, I mean not viral, 94. I like the first two stories and not the last two. And
Nope,
the first two were
yes.
way too short. And then in viral, at least I kind of liked the stories a little more, although the putting together was not that great. Also, none of the tie-in stories for any of the VHS movies are good, which is their biggest fault. I'm so sad about that.
But that's why I'm sorry. I know we just went on to VHS right now, but like that's why I think 99 is actually a huge step up. It's like I think it's the best one since too, because they don't have a wraparound story. But anyway,
But anyway,
what about VHS viral?
So now you have, well, in terms of found footage, right? I almost like, I can separate them in my mind, like this influencer, social media horror, and then just the desire of going viral has almost created another like mode of transportation for horror, I guess, because that's something that, you know, everybody low-key kind of wants, and it can be the starting point for a lot of horror, even if it doesn't have to include, you know, being a creator, being, you know, an influencer or whatever, but it stems from the same thing. So now we have this entity or this thing that, or this track, I guess, that everyone knows that is kind of a sweet spot for something, which could invite a lot of quirky characters that, you know, have not been thought up yet, to give them a reason to go and do something crazy, which I love. That's cool.
Like that. I like the vehicle found footage. I also, let's speak to characters, because that's the biggest like point where a lot of people are like, God, the characters fucking suck. And here's the thing. They do suck. And I don't like movies where the characters suck, because if it's just one character that I'm following and I am stuck with that one fucking character and there's no one else, like if you're going to give me some characters who suck, give me a group. So at least I can have a focus of a few different characters. But like things like Deadstream or Dashcam, where it's like one or two and that's all you get, it's like being trapped in the car with someone you can't stand, waiting for the car to crash. And it's not worth the car crashing. I don't want to be on the ride. I would rather just hear about the crash on the news.
I'm glad you brought those two, because those are the two. It's those two and Sissy are like the ones from this year that I'm like, okay, these are the influencer horror films that are immediately jumping in my mind. Dashcam is it was so funny because it was a movie that like completely removed from the lead character and her horrendous beliefs. I was like, you know, if this was a different character, I think this movie is kind of effective. I think there's some pretty good scares in it. But the problem is the movie seems to be endorsing her views too. And so it was like, well, but again, I don't like this because I so strongly disagree with the views of this character. So if I was an alt-right MAGA crazy person, then maybe I'd like it more. With Deadstream, I saw a lot of people comparing it to Dashcam, and I do kind of disagree in the sense that the movie of Deadstream does not endorse this man's views. It is very much like this guy is an asshole. And I get what you're saying, Jazz, about how you're like, oh, I don't want to spend 90 minutes with these people because it's like, why would I want to do that? But the movie is like constantly fucking with this guy the entire time and wants you to laugh at him being fucked with, which is why it made that a lot more palatable than Dashcam, which I think is a really, really difficult watch.
Okay. I want to say that I watched Dashcam for this conversation only. I was not going to watch that movie. I was not going to watch it, but also I'm not someone who wants to jump into the ring without any information, because I feel like that's rude. I'm not about to talk shit about your movie and I didn't even see it. That's I'm not going to do that. I sat there and I gave it the view and I knew what I was getting when I got into it, but it didn't get spoiled for me, luckily. So again, I do understand I feel like Deathstream is like Dashcam light in the fact that the character's unlikable, but he gets his due kind of at the end, where Dashcam, she does not. She does not. I was waiting for this shit to come at the end, and I was sat there and I was like, so you mean to tell me everyone else got but this? And she's still sitting here with her cap on, still freestyling, and I want
for 10 minutes. For 10 minutes.
Also, freestyling puts me in hell. So as soon as the movie turned on, I didn't know she was gonna freestyle. I didn't know anything about this girl. She started freestyling.
For this.
I was already pissed. I was like, "Wow, guess that's how I'm spending my day off watching her freestyle on camera and then not die." Okay, fine. Deadstream, I feel like the last 18 minutes is where it has a line in there that really turned off a lot of users, especially ones that look, not users, but viewers who look like me. Because as soon as he said, spoiler alert, this is for the blacks, everybody was like, like, let me tell you, Kat literally force close the app. Like, girl, what? Because it's one thing to make a character unlikable. We get it. But sometimes when they make the character unlikable, they do it in a way where it kind of alienates certain audiences. Because, girl, what did like 50 Cent say? What did he say fuck me for? Oh, hold on. I was watching the movie. Why? I wasn't, coming down on him on his fake Instagram page or whatever YouTube he was doing. But I already knew he was a shit character. You didn't have to give him that dialogue. You showed me what he did. He knew he didn't want to apologize. Just by the way he was speaking, we already knew he was a piece of shit. You didn't have to add in the dialogue that twists the knife into me. I was like, come, but me though, but me personally.
That's interesting. I mean, like, I can't. I'm not even going to disagree with you on that sentiment but I guess, I mean, this isn't found footage, but I just rewatched Barbarian recently, and we have a character played by Justin Long who's a huge piece of shit, and then we have him answering the phone, going, "What up, faggot?" And
it's confronting.
But for me, it's like I'm not supposed to like this character, and while you may watch some of this movie being like, oh, like maybe he'll get better, no, he won't. So something like that, I'm only using like the F slur as like a comparison to what you're saying because it's what I would like be offended by. But to me, it's more like, oh, it's just cementing the fact that this person is a huge piece of shit. And so if you thought there was going to be a redemption arc for this person, that's not correct. They're still terrible.
I will say this. So with Deadstream, that one specific line that you're talking about, Jazz, I almost took it as like direct parody, which is funny because the whole Twitter thing that's going on right now about parody. But anyway,
oh God.
This
the
is
timeliness.
Like, yeah, the timeliness is crazy. But this guy, I'm assuming he's either on Mixer or on Twitch or on YouTube or he's live streaming somewhere. And I want to say not even a foot and ankle, maybe like a knee deep in the streamer community as of this point. And it's kind of like a broken record, how you find a streamer and you really rock with their content, good stuff. They're pulling out all the stops, great entertainer. And then they say that one thing, which is 80% of the time racially motivated. And then it's like, oh, okay. But it's very often, because every creator, everyone who presents themselves publicly online wants to have a good image. Nobody go, well, we'll get to that later.
For the most part.
Yeah.
For the most part, people want to have a good image, especially amongst their audience. So a lot of times when you have that one like record scratch moment, it's because someone is trying to say something that, I'm one of the good guys, I'm just like you, I'm for the people. Yeah, woo. But then it's just kind of like, all right, you're just an everyday guy and you messed up with that one. I'm thinking specifically PewDiePie. There have been, we got that man so many chances.
I was gonna say, how many opportunities are we gonna give that fucker?
He fumbled a Disney bag.
I'm sorry.
If you fumble a Disney bag, like there's no hope for you, bro. You should just he really needs a muzzle is what he needs. And constantly like I'm on the right side of the good fight, which sure I want to believe, but if you're going to be positive and then throw that weird stuff at me and then have your community come back and be like, no dude, in the face of trying to be a good person, it just reminded me of like all of those streamers that have been in that position that, I'm trying to save myself from my old reputation. I'm trying to show everybody that I'm a good person. And it just comes out completely wrong just because maybe they didn't know. They definitely don't have any Black friends to a sensitivity check.
That's the thing with Deadstream too, is because we know from the get-go that he did something that was merited cancellation. And so that line that you're talking about was more like, it's like he literally thinks that this is gonna like make it better by saying this line and doesn't realize how. So again, to me, it's like it's a joke. But I mean, if you're watching, you're offended by this line. It's like, okay, was the movie offending you, or is the character offending you, or is it both?
I think a little bit of both.
It's both, but it's mainly that line, because I'm like, he was problematic. I knew that going in. I knew he was problematic, but it was like, okay, we know, but then I feel like a lot of times in dialogue, we want to make things racially motivated, or we want to make them really problematic. You got to nail it in with dialogue, and I'm like, you don't have to do that. Also, I feel like for me, because I feel like, especially with Black women or just Black queer people, and queer people, we're ahead of the curve when
Yeah.
it comes to people trying to do. We already saw that. This is old to us. Like
Yeah.
Xero is saying, like, I've seen this so many times. It's tired. So people going like, yeah, this is so fresh, and I'm like, this has been happening for 10 years. I'm tired. I'm bored. It's like and then here's the thing, like, you putting it up here as this new thing, like, oh yeah, so we're actually calling it out in a movie. But for me, being online, back in the Twitter days where 2009, where it was the Wild West, I'm like, this is this is old. This is not refreshing to me. So I don't like it as much. I don't think it's as groundbreaking as a lot of people are taking it. I think it's boring. I think it's fucking boring. I'm like, okay, he's racist. So it's happening.
Oh,
So
racism.
like,
That's all you've got? We've heard that for several hundred years.
What else you got?
He's doing this for likes. So is everyone else. They got rent to pay. He's trying to get monetized. He said it himself. That's why I'm like, he's a piece of shit because he's doing this to get monetized. He just want his ad money back. And we know that. So I'm like, I want them to be a little bit more careful about the specific language, because we don't have to go that far to show us. But I feel like sometimes you're not directing it towards audiences like me. I picked up on all the subtle things just for him being in the trunk in the beginning. I was like, hey, what? You crossed the line. You're in the trunk. What are you doing? What are you doing?
Okay, so let's shift then away to a different type of influencer horror. So we have these two movies with reprehensible protagonists, but it's the found footage style. So we're watching this, but then let's look at something like because I think what influencer horror does, it has commentary built into it already. Right. And so this year's Sissy, which is not a found footage movie, but it's about an influencer who is very much like she gets those dopamine or serotonin boosts from like her likes and her follows and shit, and it unfortunately leads her down a path to the point where she starts murdering a bunch of people inadvertently. So something like that too, I think is, and I think that the movie is fine. I think it has a really interesting premise that it doesn't quite nail home for me, but I don't know, something like that. Like, what do you think about that type of influencer horror?
I think I would much rather see, maybe not a story, but I would much rather see, if we're gonna make influencer horror, I would much rather see a character like Sissy than a character like, I don't know what Deadstream guy's name
Deadstream
was.
dude.
Deadstream dude, 2789 XOX. Whatever. I think it's like Jazz said, Deadstream guy is a little tired. We have seen it IRL, or not IRL, but like we've seen it on our own Twitter feeds, we've seen it on our own Instagram feeds. Sissy's a little different. But there is a part of her that you can actually sympathize with. As opposed to like, nobody gives a fuck about this guy. Like Jess said, he just wants his ad money back. He screwed up and now he's trying to retrace his steps, which sure, but we've seen that character type before in horror that doesn't have to do with influencers. But Sissy, and I agree, it wasn't my favorite movie of this year, but I thought it was very unique because it shows that side of what putting your face online publicly and having a presence can do to you. I'm not saying that like we all have the capacity to just like go outside and murder people if like our serotonin
hopefully
is
not.
low.
I actually no. I think that the slashery stuff in that movie is what's the least successful component of Sissy to me. Whereas though, like the scenes, where she gets embarrassed publicly, and so she runs to the bathroom to look at her likes, and we get like the Requiem for a Dream, like pupil dilating, like, well, oh, she's like getting a high off of this. Like that I thought was really, really interesting. So when it actually went into more typical horror stuff, I was like, oh, I'm less interested by this because I liked what you were doing before.
Yeah.
Oh, I like both of it. I thought Sissy was fine. I don't think it was top tier. It's mainly because some of the characters are kind of grating. But I mean, it was a bunch of characters, so it wasn't one character that we're following that's grating. So I'm like, okay, we're bouncing back and forth. And I can see, these could be some regular people, although one of them was like cartoonishly a bully and it was too much. I was like, okay, girl. All right, get off your horse, sis. And you also, I'm also over the trope of terrible friends. Although I know a lot of people have terrible friends. I just have have a hard time relating because I don't have friends like that. You got friends who invited you somewhere and they hate you so much that they didn't tell the person in house that you were staying and y'all hate each other. This is and they made you
Yeah.
drive. This is just I don't understand how you're even in this
Well,
situation.
it's a bit, the movie doesn't do the work to explain this, but how I do,
Mhm.
how I filled in the gaps for that was
The mental gymnastics. Here we go.
well, so social media has made it so people don't like to have confrontations, even
Right.
if it's like a regular conversation face to face. So the friend would have rather avoided the awkward conversation of, "Hey, by the way, come to my party," but also the girl that you stabbed in the face with a troll is going to be there. And so that to me is that's just that culture. Like we are online because and it's easier to say something confrontational via a text message than it is face to face with this person. So that's kind of how I view that almost as a maybe not intentional commentary on this generation, but that's how I viewed it.
You know what? It reminds me of Speak No Evil a little bit. Have y'all seen that? Where the
Yeah.
politeness
Yeah.
is you're polite to a fault. And those are movies that I don't get in that case because yes, that is a like social media culture, but also, you know, sometimes if you're a little older, you grew up on social media, but you had to interact with people.
Yes.
And also politeness, I know particularly in my community, politeness is not how we do things. Like, and that's why sometimes, you know, at least in my opinion, Black women get perceived as rude because I'm not about to let you. Here's the thing:
You're going to be frank about it.
You think I'm a punk? You think you can just say this to me and not have? Because I do want the smoke. Yes, I'm going to at you. I am going to say, what do you mean by that? Period. Question mark.
I have like
Exclamation.
I was going to say, you
could
could see
listening to this.
Trey shrinking back. Like
no.
white people culture is like, no, avoid conflict at all
I'm the
costs.
people. Yeah, I'm the people pleaser. I'm like, nope. Like I am like, yes, I don't do confrontation in person. I'm so bad about it. Unless with strangers. If you're my friend, like I will have that conversation with you. But with strangers, I'm very much like no, I want this person I have never met before, who is probably never going to see me again, to think I am the perfect person.
Which
Have
is
you
what
ever,
social media is all
like-
about, right? Because it's like that forward-facing presentation, right? Like you want to be
Yeah.
liked by strangers, you want to be beloved, you want to have 1 million followers, and so on.
Have you guys ever been in like Target and then you see someone who you haven't seen in like 10 years or somebody you went to high school with and you kind of are
Hide, run
obligated
away.
to well, if you make eye contact, well, run away first, but if you make eye contact, then you're kind of obligated to, hey, how you been, you know, and you kind of want to, let's say, like jazz yourself up to the point where you can still be likable like you are online, but you know, I think people just want to maintain reputations, and people please is what it is. That's how this poor girl got sucked into this whole shebang.
It's frustrating, but she's a frustrating character, but I'm never like, I don't like this because she's frustrating, because I understand why she is the way she is.
Yeah. And you know, as embarrassing as it is, I had one girl in mind the whole time I was watching this movie, who I'm not going to name the name, obviously, but I'm 80% sure that the three of you have seen her on your timelines at one point.
Oh God.
And she is a very sweet girl and does a great amount of work online, pumps it out like crazy. She's creative and she's just good at what she does. And then she gets to the in-person part and all it takes is like this much to kind of break her. And that's when I realized that if you're going to do this, and I'm not saying like, if you want to be an influencer, you got to eat 6 eggs a day and you got to, you know, lift weights and you got to, you know,
there's no formula.
Yeah, there's no formula. But if you're going to put yourself out in the public eye and have a decent following, you need to be mentally prepared for that, because it's a lot. It is a lot. And I'm just like, I'm little crumbs, you know, compared to the spectrum of what influencers are nowadays. And I know the average person would not be able to handle that. I don't really remember how big her following was in the movie in Sissy, but it was like it was larger than like any of us
200,000. She had a couple 100,000.
And then it's 1 million or like 10 million by the end of the movie.
I think though, but it is a sense that so becoming an influencer, you are essentially famous. And I feel like people are always, I want to be famous, I want to be famous, I want to be famous. And they don't really quite understand what that entails once you are a public figure. And I think it's interesting because I feel like people are really mean about celebrities. You know, when a female celebrity comes out,
We
and
can
they're
hate
like,
them because they're rich and famous.
well, but or if they complain about something about their lives, because it's like, oh, like I had to do this because like I was in the public eye too much. I don't know. I'm thinking of like the Anne Hathaway, Jennifer Lawrence hate stuff, and people are like, oh, boo hoo, you're a celebrity acting in movies making millions of dollars, and it's like, but you're really discrediting like some of the trauma they actually go through by being in the public eye in a social media age where anyone can reach out to them. So
Right.
while becoming an influencer, you may not be like, Oscar winning levels of fame. You're really understanding what it means to be famous. And there are lows with the highs that come with fame.
All it takes is a tweet to go viral once, and you will
Yep.
understand what
Yeah.
fame is like. And not even on a big scale. Let your tweet get 2,000, 3,000 retweets. That's enough for you to have people quote tweeting it, calling you stupid, pulling up your media, calling you ugly. I was like, you
Very
scroll
much
back
so.
4 years into my media without my eyebrows on, so you can call me ugly. First of all, I still look better than you. Let's start here. Second of all, girl, you're pathetic, but also you have to have a certain kind of confidence and self-esteem and self-love and support
The
system
thicker
to have
skin,
that.
right?
Yeah, and not
or liberally use the block button and the mute button. Like,
Well, there's
I
that
mean,
too.
look, I mean, like, I have
Hard.
7,000 followers on Twitter, but like, I learned about 2 years ago to not engage. Someone tweets something bad at me, I don't know you. Nope, like block, mute,
Done.
do not reply, because if I reply, I will get stuck in hours of back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. It's just detrimental to my mental
I've seen y'all's comment section.
health.
I've seen it with my own eyes,
Oh,
and
boy.
it gets crazy in
People
there.
rude.
People,
Well, I
people
think-
are just me. Yeah.
I mean, that's one of the interesting things about like this age of social media, right? Is that it's given everyone a voice, right? Like everybody technically has access if you're sadly privileged enough to be able to afford things like internet and that kind of stuff, which I think is a basic human right, but unfortunately is not. But the reality is like people can have platforms for like for writing, for doing TikTok and that kind of stuff. Like if you can afford a phone, if you have internet, you can do these kinds of things. And as you said, Jazz, you can go viral. So you can become like a big thing. And that's really exciting. But it also has come with this like weird, like people can be anonymous online and they can really weaponize that. And they feel entitled to access celebrities' lives. They want to know details. They want to be privy to information. And it's brought out a really awful side of people, unfortunately. And I think that's where horror is doing some interesting work.
Yeah.
It's just, yeah, like sometimes it can be really uncomfortable. I think even Xero, when you were like, hey, have you ever run into somebody? It's like, oh God, I don't want that in real life, but do I want it in my horror either?
I do. I want them to see how amazing I am now compared to how I was when I was 17 or 18 years old. Oh my God.
Save that for the 10-year reunion.
I did. No, we had a Facebook group for my 10-year reunion, and I was like, yeah, y'all, here's a bingo card for the reunion in the free space. Like it's like, oh, like someone got rich or someone has like but the free space was someone gained weight. And I had so many complaints of people calling me a bully. And I was like, listen, y'all, I'm sorry. I dealt with y'all for a long time. I can have my fucking one dab. Like, I'm sorry.
Also, we all gained weight. Didn't we all go through the damn pandemic? Okay,
Literally.
all of us ate a few sandwiches. Y'all are all right.
I had
well,
more
it,
than a
it
few.
just also reveals how fat phobic we are as a culture, right? It's like heaven
Also
forbid
that.
somebody gained weight. Oh no.
Oh
Yeah.
wow.
But so I think, but it's also a thing where it's like the influencer horror is such a new concept for like the genre. Like, we were seeing screen life films, like Unfriended, The Den, things like that back in like 2014, 2015. It's still fresh, and I'm excited to see where it's going to go, because yeah, I mean, you can say, oh, we've seen a lot of this stuff before, like with Deadstream. So what is something we haven't seen before that we want to see in influencer horror? And go ahead.
I got it. I would love to see, and please correct me if it's out there. But if it is, I would like to see more of it. All of these movies that we talked about so far have very flawed main characters who are
That's what I was gonna say.
Period.
It's always problematic and or awful people at the center of all these
Right.
horrors, right?
Mentally
And I
unstable.
remember, I think it was Blair Bathory who prompted this either on her Instagram story or on Twitter. But it was during the pandemic, and she just asked a simple question, which is a question that we, should have a sure answer to at this point. But why is influencer such a has like
term.
such this negative connotation.
Yeah.
And, you know, as much as it pains me to say, I was literally just talking to Brother Ghoulish about this maybe 2 days ago when we were recording the podcast. But, you know, we're going into our normie circles, as I like to call them. And, you know, you're going to get the question, especially if you're stopped in Target by that one person you haven't seen in forever. Oh, so what do you do? Am I really going to tell them that I'm an influencer?
Yeah.
Because then they're gonna, you know, and then especially for
Ooh.
Brother Ghoulish, they're all over TikTok now, and that's just like the devil in the eyes of society, I guess. But you know, I have met so many amazing people this way. I met you guys this way. I met my co-host on the podcast this way.
Right.
I've met like some of the smartest and most talented creative people that I know through just networking through other creators on the internet. And these people are amazing and are capable of doing amazing things, crowdfunding, curating shit, fucking anything. But you know, then when we call ourselves influencers, it's like, oh,
yeah,
I don't think so. So, you know, there are plenty of terrible, horrible things, as like crazy as that sounds, that could happen to good people, you know, just regular. So let's get some of the outside crazy stuff that happens to us instead of reinforcing the trope that, you know, creator, or well, we use creators because nobody wants to say influencer anymore,
right?
But that influencers are these big-headed, you know, huge ego inflated, narcissistic kind of people, when you know they're good, you could flip it.
They could. And I think they think influencer is the same as celebrity, and they don't give respect to celebrities, because it's like, you're rich, you're popular, everything's handed to you, your job is not a real job. I was reading I don't know if y'all seen this little Twitter thing where they was like, oh, we made drinks, and everybody made drinks based on their job. And one person was a TikToker, and she made these cool little drinks, and somebody was like, oh, well, what if I don't have no job? What do I do? And somebody was like, the same thing the TikToker brought. And I was like, well, she has a job and she's paying her rent. You're hating because you think that it's easy. And I think a lot of people from who are not doing it or not making the content, they think that it is easy, and you're just getting over, and it's not easy. And we most have jobs.
Oh my God,
that's so funny, because even like I'll limit it to the gay male community. I'll just say that everyone's like, oh, just do an OnlyFans, like just like put your dick out there. And I was like, okay, here's the thing though.
Naturally,
I can post one dick pic and I can post one video of whatever the fuck I'm doing, but then it's like, but then I have to keep doing it, and I have to keep thinking of things to do. I gotta get my life, like
you gotta get the cakes, you gotta get the balloons out.
You've got to differentiate it. You can't just post the same thing over and over. So I'm sorry, like people that make fun of OnlyFans, I'm like, okay, but that's a job.
It's fucking work. It's a job. I think that's such a valuable point, because, you know, I'm sure you folks have heard this as well, but even like when I tell people, oh, you know, I podcast, and they're like, what a cute hobby. That must be like such a fun thing you do for like an hour a week. And I'm just
not cute. They did not say
tell you.
It takes everything in my power not to pull up my revenue spreadsheet that I keep to track all of our income to be like, well, actually, look at this.
Well, I'm still a brokey, so I can't even pull up the revenue like that. But I can be like, well, do you know what? I've been editing an episode for the past 4 hours, and I want you to know that I'm not going to be done till about 11 o'clock. So I want you to mind your goddamn business.
On top of your fucking regular job, you're like, yeah,
and I'm a teacher.
A hobby, but also it's like, it's fun. I'm never gonna say that it's not fun, because if it's not fun, we should not be doing this anymore. But the reality is like, this is a second job for most of us. For some of us, maybe future full-time job. We'll see. But it's I feel like that's the big thing with the social media influencer piece, is that people don't see the value of it because they think it's easy, in the same way that we take for granted things like service work, where it's like, oh, well, you're just doing a menial labor kind of job for $8 an hour, and you're like, yeah, they're fucking working their asses off for $8 an hour.
Yo, $8 an hour for bless you, Canada, bless you. It is $2.13 for servers in like most states.
Okay, well, we have a minimum wage balance here in Canada. US, pick your shit up.
No,
they're never gonna get it. They're never just like with sex work too. Sex work, they think, oh, you're just showing some boobs. That's all. Do you know that they have a skincare routine that they spend 40 minutes on every single day? They got yoga, they got cardio, they gotta pay to get all this shit done because they gotta have a certain aesthetic. And
for your 4K TV, or
all you see is the picture, all you see is the final product. The podcast, all you hear is the podcast. Video, all you see is the final product. You don't see the work that goes into it.
You know what's kind of funny? Oh, sorry. Go
No, I
ahead.
was just I'm sorry. Just the perfect example then of what you're looking for, Xero, is Cam.
Oh, like the 2018 film Cam.
Yeah. It's about the Cam girl, and it's, in my opinion, a very positive portrayal of sex work.
And it's
Putting
so
it on
great
the
because
list.
oh my God, Xero, you'll love
It's
it.
really
It's
good.
really good. But it's like it's all about how she wants to be at the top of the cam girl list. And it's like everything that she has to do to climb those ranks. And all it takes is like one vicious competitor to be like, if you want to see more things from me, you've got to like basically fuck over this other girl who's my competitor. That movie's fucking good.
And it's written by an actual cam girl, so like she has the lived experience of like writing this role, and so it's the film never looks down on her for her vocation, and that's what's so refreshing about it.
It's on my watch list now, and also this movie is killing the ratings with my homies on Letterboxd. So
yes,
that's the one.
I've rated it more than once. I love Cam and the lighting and the outfits. It's just a beautiful film.
I see it's got that good bisexual lighting.
It has huge bisexual lighting.
We always love that. I did want to say I have a friend, and she does sex work. She does the capital P part, which is a very as far as you can go really in terms of sex work. And she was kind of venting to me the other day about this rise in Instagram model come OnlyFans, like light sex work girls who don't understand what is really necessary and the industry standards that come with being a porn star. So now she has, all of these, albeit like young, very talented women who were wanting to enter the industry and collaborate with her. And she's like, okay, I need this form. I need this form. I need your STD checked testing release at least 14 days before. Boom, boom, bam, bam. Because this is industry standard.
Right.
And they're just like, oh, that's too much.
That's too much. Can we just take a couple pictures or maybe a video?
Yeah,
and like,
it's
no,
it's not that easy.
Because, girl, why would you not want your panel? You know what? That's none of my damn business.
Because exactly why I'm not afraid of doctors. Like, people are just afraid to go to the doctor.
They are. And like as a whole, because they're afraid they're going to get bad news. But girl, the bad news is going to get you if you don't go find out what the bad news is. Girl, figure it out.
I'm so used to having like a clinic that like caters to queer people here. So like I get my tests, my blood work, and my like syphilis, gonorrhea, HIV every 3 months. Like every 3 months I get my test done. Like, and I feel better every day about it.
It's so good to have this clean report. And it, it's just when people they don't know what it really takes. So they're just like, oh, you're not, oh, whatever. Oh, whatever. And that's with most jobs, unless it's like the jobs that the society holds up at the top. Even with teaching, people think you just sitting there with them kids and doing. Girl, I have 163 students. You don't understand. Ooh. Okay. You don't understand what I'm going through. But even anything where you're making anything, they're like, you just whatever. And they don't want to pay. They don't want to, they never want to give you what you're worth because they don't know what it's worth. But another example, I don't know if y'all seen the Andy Baker tape. It's like about an hour long. It's on YouTube, I think, or Tubi for free. It's a found footage where this dude is like a food writer. And which is the first time I've seen a food writer even included. And it's kind of a slow burn. And he's not a bad person. He's not the most perfect person, but he's not like the worst piece of shit you've ever seen. But something happens and he meets someone and connects with someone. And then you see their relationship. It kind of reminds me of Creep a little bit.
Okay.
Just a pinch, just a tad. But I like the idea of this person who's a normal person. He's not perfect. He has flaws, but they're not like, oh my God, I fucking hate you flaws. But then he gets into a situation and the camera's rolling. That's what I want to see more of. Like you're doing something and something else happens while you're rolling. That's it. It's not you go into a haunted house or you go to this like the deep house. We about to go into this. No, why you going?
I like the deep house.
I love the deep house. I think it's a great time, but the premise is already stupid because you went down this dumbass. Why would you do that? But versus you were recording and maybe you got in a car accident, but you got in a car accident because I don't know, a werewolf was driving the other car. I don't know. Somebody just started turning into a werewolf and then they crashed the car. Now they're chasing you and you got a cam on your head and you're running in the woods. I don't know. Just look, I let them put sharks in tornadoes. All right. I don't care how wild you get with it, but I want something other than this person's problematic. Watch the ghost beat his ass. That's boring.
So it's almost like I don't want to say like, oh, we don't want commentary with these types of things, because you can still offer commentary on positive portrayals. It's just like we don't like. So yeah, I like that. Like more, again, quote unquote, for lack of a better term, normal portrayals of people who make this their living. Maybe even not the ones who are like trying to make it, like they've already made it, it's just their job. So like, let's see someone in their element as this whatever horror feature comes into their life.
Have y'all seen Shook on Shudder? That's one. Shook,
Okay.
the girl there it has a great kill at the beginning. Let's just talk about it. And they already kind of popular, but you see how they kind of create this facade that they're more popular than they are. That's a good time. Also, We Follow You. It's a YouTube short. I think it's on Alter. And it's like 8 minutes.
Good. So good.
I want to see that idea of we're influencers to the point where we truly influence. Where we truly influence people, and I would love to see that. Yes,
Shook is the one with like had like the people were mad about it because like there's like an animal death in it, right?
Yeah,
I did see this. I actually liked this movie, and I was surprised because I saw a lot of people hating on it, and I was like, I thought this was really interesting.
But I think people were only hating on it because it was like
animals.
There was animal murders in it. So
yeah, she finds out that like the person I must have been drunk when I watched it, but like the person like has a link to a website that has photos of dog carcasses. So it's not like you're actually seeing animal violence, but you are seeing corpses of dogs.
Right.
But yeah, I'm glad you brought up Shook. I totally forgot that existed. It's actually a pretty solid movie.
I didn't. I like that movie. And one of the first kills is a really fun kill with a great shot. And no one talks about it because I feel like also with the influencer horror, somebody's like, oh, this is kind of, I don't know if y'all have heard this thing, but they're like, I don't want to hear that. But it's almost kind of poo-poo that we don't want to talk about influencers because it's, it's like not the He-Man sport of stab, boo, blood. And I'm like, girl, all of y'all are watching YouTube. I don't care if you're watching the dude who sells old army rations. He's still a content creator, okay? The person who goes fishing, the person who fixes stuff all day, their content, all of these people are content creators. So I'm like, the vast amount of things you can do with it. Like Xero said, there's so much real estate and y'all keep going with the same thing. Like y'all can have somebody who was fixing a house on the YouTube channel and they just making like a little, and it doesn't have to be found footage, which gives you even more real estate if you take it away from found footage and they're recording things, and you can kind of splice it with both. Like you have some found footage. I don't mind mixed media because I'm not a person who like, I need to know why they holding the camera. It's a movie. I don't give a damn.
I don't care about that.
Footage right now.
I think the sad thing is that there are a bunch of people who do deeply care. Like every time a fan footage film comes out, people always want to ask that, on top of the fact that there's a bunch of people who just fucking flat out hate found footage for like no discernible reason, which, you know what, if that's not your bag, that's fine. I don't love possession films and I'm not really going to go to bat for, I know.
Yeah, but
here's the thing. When they're done well though, like I will listen to them. I won't write off the entire subgenre, but I feel like there's a bunch of hits against this particular topic, right? It's like, we don't like influencers because we conflate them with celebrity and we think that they're kind of like lazy famous. And then it's also often found footage, which we also don't like. And then also we've got all these awful characters and we're usually stuck with just them. It's like all of these kind of detractors, but I feel like it's also because there's a bunch of like 50 to 60-year-old white men who are making these movies and they've got like one idea and they just trot it out in a slightly different variation each time.
But that's what I'm talking about though, where it's like, yeah, we're in a transition. Like this is the infancy period of this subgenre of horror. And so people are doing right now what they're comfortable with or what they think is like going to click with people or like what people are familiar with. Right. So I'm excited. Yes. I mean, again, and I've liked a lot of these movies and I've disliked a lot of these movies, but like, I'm excited to see, like where does it go from here? Like, what is the evolution of this subgenre, or is it gonna stall and die?
No way, it's not gonna die. No,
I think
way.
Xero's hit it on the head. Like, there's too much interesting variations that you could explore, and also like we're not going to see these people disappear because, like, hell, we're talking about Jazz's 12-year-old students who all want to become famous. So, like, clearly there will still be an appetite for minor celebritydom from regular people.
A children's influencer horror movie.
I will be here for it. I'm not afraid to see kids die in movies. I'm sorry.
Yes.
Or animals or anything, because it's a movie. It's not real.
They're not.
Here's the thing though, horror movies are supposed to be like kind of based on real life things that we're terrified of. It's like children do die in real life. And They should be dying in
Terrible.
horror movies.
I mean, but that's the thing though, is like, and like I will never fault anyone for saying like I don't want to see that.
Sure.
But it does always make me laugh a lot when it's like horror fans who are like, oh, I don't want to see this in my horror movies. And I was like, but it's horror.
Yeah.
Let's keep it scary, okay?
Let's keep it scary, and let's keep it fresh by doing some other shit. Just do some other stuff. I think we step out of found footage because people don't like, and I love found footage. I'm not people. I love found footage, but also the camera work is usually not very good. It's shaky. It's hard to see. The audio is sometimes very terrible, especially when people are screaming.
Yeah.
I love Blair Witch Project, but when she's screaming out Josh, I want to punch her in the face through the screen. It's so hard to, especially imagine you have surround sound. Yuck. Just listening to that, the cameras like capping and screeching, they're yelling, it's grass, it's air, it's wind.
You feel annoyed, whereas I just feel like complete despair for this character.
Teresa's like, oh, I'm so immersed, and Jazz is like, turn it off. I can't take it.
I mean, it's all subjective, right? I mean, because I can buy into the found footage. Like again, like I don't need to ask why they're holding the camera. Like I'm watching a found footage movie. Like it's fun. Like whatever, I can buy into that. But yeah, I would like to see less or more non-found footage examples of this.
Yeah.
Something like Sissy, something like Cam. Like we can use the cameras, but don't make that the main mode of your filming technique.
Mm-hmm. And I like Jazz's suggestion of like doing some mixed media, because I do think you can get really unnerving. Like when you see like surveillance camera footage and it's like creepy and a little distorted and you're like, what's going on? You want to look closer. That stuff is good, but I don't know that I want to watch a whole movie of it sometimes, because I think a better shot or like better audio movie is maybe going to accomplish other things better. I'm
thinking
just gonna
about
keep using
mixed
this.
media.
Yeah.
So I follow this YouTube channel, and it's not like an influencer or anything, but it's Ring. Y'all know Ring, like the security camera thing.
Wait, like for your doorbell security?
Yeah, the Ring doorbell.
Oh, okay.
I was because my husband watches like scary Ring videos on YouTube, and it's just people like coming up to the door and fucking with the door.
Oh my
Where
god, that
is
sounds
it?
terrifying.
Yes.
I'm waiting.
Yeah.
So Ring actually has a YouTube channel where people who have Ring cameras can submit their kooky clips to the channel. And there's this one clip that I saw a couple months ago, and there's like a hyena outside, and like this little girl runs up to the door and she's like, hello, there's a hyena outside, I'm just gonna stay right here. And you see it like kind of walk around, and it's real, it's so real. But I don't know, if we're gonna do mixed media, throw a Ring camera in there too, please. For me,
a Ring camera, zombie apocalypse on the influencer, like you record and you see something going on, and now the zombies at the door like, hey, brains. I would love to see it.
She said, hey, brains.
I'm so glad you brought that up. Yeah, because I walked in, my husband was like, he's like, watch these videos. And I was like, what is this? He goes, it's the doorbells. It's like a video camera on a doorbell. And there's like people with masks walking up to the doors. And I'm like, no, I don't want to see it.
It's the new Purge movie is what we're saying.
Okay. Well, do we want to kind of bring this all in? I guess, I mean, we've already talked about where we want this to go, what we want to see from it. I guess, does anyone have a recommendation of a movie that we haven't discussed yet that falls into maybe this influencer culture type thing? And I don't have an answer for this actually. So
Spree?
If you don't have one,
Did we talk about Spree?
I was gonna say we mentioned it, but we didn't talk a lot about Spree. And I love this
Spree.
movie so much.
Yeah,
I remember vividly laying in my bed and I'm watching the movie, and it's like hilarious, right? Like it's funny as hell. So I'm laughing, I'm chuckling, I'm having a good time, and then at one moment I'm like, wait a minute.
I'm not laughing anymore.
Wait a damn minute. This could happen.
Yeah.
Especially with like, everybody's driving Uber now. Anyone can get on Lyft. And now, like for the driver's safety as well, everyone's got a dash cam and the one facing the back seat. You've seen all those crazy viral clips that go on Twitter of a very rowdy passenger in an Uber. Like, what happens if it's the driver? And it seemed like this is something that could happen. Like, there's a streamer called Onision who like goes kooky every 3 months because of a comment, and then has a breakdown and just puts it all out there, which is crazy to me
No.
because it's been like
Yeah.
7 or 8 times now. But I thought it was very humorous until it wasn't,
Right.
and then it was again. But like overall,
fair.
it was that movie's so great.
Yeah.
I feel like
Just so more
Spree is if it's like if you didn't like Deadstream for all the reasons that Jazz was talking about, I feel like Spree is actually the more palatable
I
version
agree.
of that.
Mhm.
That's
I would
saying
also pair
something when-
that with it's not strictly horror, it's more like an action thriller YA film, but like Nerve with Emma Roberts and I think it's Dave Franco is
Franco.
like pretty good. Basically, they get like dared to do increasingly more dangerous they get dared to do more dangerous dares and they can get more money from it, but like they're being followed by people who like videotape to verify the accuracy, and they like sometimes interfere, and it can it gets kind of extreme in parts. It gets ridiculous at the end of the film, but it's like a solid premise up until that point.
And it's like a live stream or something.
Yeah. So it's people like videotaping them on their phones. That's how they have to
Oh.
prove it. But like
Oh,
one of them
you
is
know
like
what?
they have to like ride on a motorcycle at like 60 miles an hour with like the visor down so that they can't see.
Lord, this reminds me of Guns Akimbo with
Yeah.
Daniel Radcliffe.
Yeah.
That
I haven't
that
seen
was
that yet.
Oh, it was so
That's fun.
funny.
Very
Not
problematic director,
influencer.
but
Yeah, the
good
director
movie.
sucks balls, but
Okay, this is new to me. I have to Google as soon as we're done.
We'll tell you about it.
Okay.
There's some
We'll tell you
racial
about
shit.
Wonderful. I will look that up before I watch that movie. Now I do have Like Me. I don't know if that's on Shudder or I think Larry Fessenden is in it. And this girl, she's making these videos, but she's not getting the views. She's not getting the views. So she starts doing wild stuff to get views. And wildly enough, she's still not getting the views. And she's doing this extreme stuff on the internet and no one really is looking at her. I think DeadCon is one. It's more silly. DeadCon wasn't that good, but it's like a bunch of I want to see more of that because they have these cons. Like YouTube has this
I
thing where
love the
all the
con
creators
idea.
come together. They come together. That's perfect for a slasher. And what you were talking about with Spree, they have the cameras already set up. What if something happens and you're completing a ride and your ride can't get out because you know, again, zombie apocalypse, you know, I want to throw the zombies out here, but vampire, anything, something's happening, or the aliens come down and you were completing the ride, but now y'all are homeboys now. Y'all are now in this together because you're not getting dropped off at your Mima house. We need to escape alive. I hope you have some survival skills because we are together in this Kia.
In this
Why does it have
Kia,
to
of
be
all
a
places, a Kia.
And then my suggestion, I can't believe we haven't mentioned this one, is Tragedy Girls.
Oh, yeah.
And I think what makes that movie stand out is that it is a horror comedy, and it's definitely offering commentary, but I think it's offering commentary more so on the readers and viewers of Tragedy Girls than it is the influences themselves. And I think that actually makes it even more funny.
You're right.
Can't
I love
believe you
Tragedy
missed that.
Girls.
Mhm.
And Follow 2018. I think this like Vlogger or something, and there's one called Vlogger, but they both have the same premise where they kind of go to this haunted place and they're like, "Ooh, I'm gonna go here," and it's a group of like a collective of streamers versus that one streamer. Because again, I feel like that's just you have to have a really good actor who's worth a damn versus like you give me someone I hate for an hour and a half, but you have a collective and one person is like, yeah, we're gonna do this. One person's like, I don't think we should be here. The other person's like, do you see that ghost in the hallway? Maybe we should start. So you have 3 different personalities kind of, you know, reacting to this situation while you're on live. And I also like the little comments that you throw in about the users because anytime we do anything with social media, you automatically get the commentary. Just the fact that you're watching this video of someone in peril and they're recording it, I still think it's wild that people record themselves crying. That is wild to me. And you know, that's no shade to people who cry on camera because some, you know, that maybe they're more vulnerable, they got something else going on, that's different. But you're recording yourself crying. The next step is it's a demon possession down the hall and you have the cameras rolling. I don't in your mind to keep the cameras on, but Followed is one of those as well.
Yeah.
Yes, I love your intersections between like it's this and then it becomes this. I love it.
There's rarely an in between.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Well, this has been absolutely delightful. I would like to see all of these, but I'm very thankful for the suggestions because, yeah, some of these were not at all on my radar. So that's very fun. Xero, if people want to give you recommendations, how would they get in touch with you?
You can find me on Instagram, Twitter, and Twitch at IDK Gravity. Or you can bother my co-host at Blurty Massacre and we may talk about it on the podcast.
This is so true. You're very open to like, oh, and now that's our subject for this week's episode.
Yep. Yeah, I'll just pick it right out the comment section. You know it.
And Jazz, what about you?
Well, hey y'all can find me at Girl That's Scary on Instagram and Twitter. Mostly Twitter, although Twitter is going down here real fast, but I'm still here. I'm still here. You can also hit me at Smoking Aces, and I think the I is a one. Smoking, I don't know what my Twitter name is. Smoking Aces. I thought it was cute because of the movie, and then the movie didn't age well. But you know what? We're here. Smoking Aces on Twitter as well. So that's where you can mostly find me because I don't know how to use Instagram very well.
Oh my God. Speaking about the learning curve, that's my horror film for this. It's like, how does Joe learn how to use TikTok because he's too old and stupid?
It's just, yeah, we've all
That's
reached
the
the
horror
point
film.
with TikTok. It's like, oh, I'm old now. Like, I'm old.
I don't
Like,
want to learn it. I don't want
yeah,
to.
I don't want to. Like, when I was younger, I'd be like, I'll learn this shit. That's fine. No, I don't want to learn that.
I can't do that, and I can't program a VCR anymore. That's how old I am now.
I have one TikTok, and it's not even a video. It's just a slideshow of pictures with a song playing in the back. I don't know how to do nothing else. I'm sorry.
That's fine. All right.
Okay. Well, this has been delightful. Thanks again, folks, for joining us. And yeah, I don't know, leave shit in the comments if you've got other suggestions that we should be looking at. But until next month, we'll close out this edition of Horror Queers Hangouts.